Hello, this is Maggie Wolken with Who Should Create the School's Vision Statement case study. Throughout this case study, I will provide an explanation and an analysis of the case. I will be answering guided questions surrounding research on mission and vision statements. I will look into the legal and ethical issues within this case, review and prioritize information while offering a solution, and I will end with sharing ways to implement a plan of action. Let's start by looking at some of the facts surrounding this case. Lightville Community School District is about 10 minutes from a major city. It is important to know that the population of this rural community is growing at a constant rate, which has led to the school board and the community to pass a bond issue for a new middle school. This school district will be expanding and reorganizing their two current school buildings. They will now move into 3 buildings that will house a K-5, 6-8, and 9-12 school buildings. Lightville Community School District students, teachers, staff, administration, parents, school board members, and stakeholders are all surrounding this case study. However, there are several key important people that are within the school case study. Susan Potter is the new principal of the new middle school. She was hired outside of the school district 12 months prior to the school becoming operational. Joe Rawlings is the superintendent that recommended that the board retain an architect firm to study the inadequate space problems. Ms. Potter and Mr. Rawlings developed an advisory committee. The advisory committee consists of 4 parents and 4 teachers. The committee will be known as the Vision and Planning Committee. Helen Burke, an English teacher, will also be the chair of the committee. There are 3 main groups of community members. The first group included primarily large landowners that were opposed to any additional construction for at least the next 10 years. The second group of residents included those that favored with the first of the second options presented by architects and planners. The third group, primarily the new residents with school-aged children, supported the superintendent's recommendation and campaigned for it. There are several things that have already taken place throughout this case study. Those are, they have already passed the school bond issue, they have created the advisory committee, a new principal has been hired and been given a few tasks to complete by the superintendent. Those tasks include making staffing decisions and organizing school programs and collaborating with architect and construction managers. Mrs. Potter has developed guidelines that she would like the Vision and Planning Committee to follow. They are, the committee's first task would be to develop a vision statement providing parameters for planning, program scope, and implementation. The vision statement would reflect the collective values and the beliefs of the committee members and hopefully of the community at large. All stakeholders would be given the opportunity to suggest elements of the vision and to react to the elements proposed by the others. When meeting with the Vision and Planning Committee, Mrs. Potter informed them of their goal of writing and finalizing a vision statement of the school. However, during this meeting, it was brought to the attention of Mrs. Potter that there was definitely different leadership approaches within the committee. The teachers felt that Mrs. Potter should produce the vision on her own. Mrs. Potter was hoping to have the participation of the committee in helping to write the vision. Mrs. Potter will now need to use the decision-making process to address conflicts that are arising. What is happening and what has happened? A committee was formed, but ultimately would like Mrs. Potter to create the school and school vision statement. What didn't happen? The committee did not want to be active participants in the development of the vision statement. The committee would like to just provide Mrs. Potter with their feedback. Each party seems to be promoting the current and future success and well-being of each student and adult, but in very different ways. The committee is trusting the leaders of the school to support the best education of their students, while the leadership feels it's important to include the committee and the community so that they can foster a strong community focus while providing the best education. Mrs. Potter has the knowledge, skills, and commitments necessary to collaboratively lead, design, and implement a school vision statement with continuous improvement that reflects a core set of values and priorities that include data use, technology, values, equity, diversity, digital citizenship, and community. With that being said, a key component to Mrs. Potter being successful relies on the committee being active participants in the process to help the vision statement accurately reflect the committee's core values. Looking at all of the different core values, data was used to determine the need of a new school. While technology has not been clear throughout the case, it will be important that they use it in the future to gain knowledge from the community through surveys and interviews. Equity was embedded throughout the hiring of a new staff, developing the advisory committee, and opening the new school building. Diversity should have been used during the hiring process. However, it is unclear if that was the case in this school district. In order to maintain a professionalism through all electronic communications, the district should embed digital citizenship guidelines within their district handbook. It is unclear if this district has any policies within their handbook. The community is very involved throughout this district. The community has voted to pass a bond issue for the new school. There are also community members that are volunteering on an advisory committee. The district office gave Mrs. Potter a task to complete prior to the new school building opening. To accomplish the completion of the task, she formed an advisory committee. This is when the conflict arose. Mrs. Potter has not implemented a plan to deal with the conflict. Ethnically, Mrs. Potter may feel that she should develop the vision statement with the committee to reflect their values. However, she has not determined a plan of action. Let's look at some research surrounding mission and vision statements. Why is it important to develop implement a vision statement and goals? Having unified vision ensures that the educational community as a whole is moving in the same direction. What is a visionary leader? Every vision starts with a visionary leader who is able to create mental and verbal pictures of desirable states. Visionary leaders tend to be goal-oriented. They tend to look at the big picture. They think outside of the box, and they seem to problem solve very well. What should the relationship be between a mission and vision statement? A vision is your school goal. Where do you see the school in the future? The mission provides the steps to achieve the desired future. The mission statement is essential for student development and effective learning. Vision and mission statements push growth and learning into an inspirational direction. Legal and ethical issues throughout this case. At this time, no one has been harmed, and there have not been any laws or contracts broken. Mrs. Potter is feeling that she needs to follow her values and be sure that she is developing the vision statement with the community to reflect their values. Let's look at another research question. Is there too much emphasis being placed on the development of a vision statement prior to the school opening? Most school districts have a wish to inspire staff and students starting on the very first day of school. So it is important that the vision statement be ready for that first day when the doors open. The vision statement embodies people's highest values and aspirations. It inspires people to reach for what could be and to rise above their fears and their preoccupations with daily reality. What has happened? In Lightville Community School District, a new middle school is being built. Principal Potter has asked the advisory committee to work collaboratively with one another to evaluate, reflect, and develop the vision. But the committee members see Principal Potter as the one that does the work without the help of the committee. Let's look into some of the facts. While evaluating the facts that we have and do not have, we will be looking at the programs, the people, and the places. Let's start with the program. We know that Lightville Middle School will house approximately 450 students between the grades of 6th and 8th. There will be one principal and one advisory committee. This district is opening up a new middle school due to the community growth. The school was not expecting to build a new school this soon, so the building process created some division. The advisory committee consists of Principal Potter, 4 teachers, and 4 parents. They are at the beginning stages of writing vision statement. Some unknown facts about the programs within the district are the new teachers for the middle school are already working in the district. What are their perspectives and how do they feel about the new school? Is the principal, is she working with other principals within the district? We currently know there are 2 other principals within the district. Has she visited their buildings to see what their current reality and what their current culture is within both of those school systems? Have the board members met Principal Potter, and are they willing to work well with her for the good of the students and the staff? What is the culture like with the teachers working in 6th through 8th grade currently? What is the district's experience in writing a vision statement? Does the staff need professional development to better understand the process? Let's look at the people surrounding the case. Some things that we know is that there will be 450 students attending the new school. We know that Mrs. Potter will be the principal, Mr. Rawlings the superintendent. We know that the advisory committee, known as the Visioning and Planning Committee, contains 4 teachers and 4 parents, and Helen Burke is the chair of the committee. There was an interview board. There are parents, school board members, and student and school staff members involved within this case. Some of the unknowns about the people in this case is what was Principal Potter's previous job experience? What prior experience or knowledge does she have with opening a brand new school and writing the vision statement for the school? Did Mr. Rawlings and Principal Potter talk much about her expectations of the advisory board? What is the culture of the middle school students? How are the students currently performing? What is the data showing? What are some of the weaknesses, strengths and weaknesses of the district? Let's look into the Lightville community. We know that Lightville Community School District currently has an elementary school and a junior high. It is a rural community currently. They have just over 1,200 students and are seeing a 2% increase per year. The new school will be built on 65-acre site, which is a 2-mile drive from the town of Lightville. Some unknowns about the Lightville community is, has Lightville experienced lots of changes with administration, or has there always just been one principal for a good amount of time? What are the demographics of the community and the school, and what is the culture like throughout the community? Let's look at another research question. What types and sources of data can be used to determine or provide support for the school's vision and goals? We need to gather feedback from people within the community. Those members are the faculty, students, parents, and other stakeholders. We must conduct interviews, create surveys, facilitate discussions. We need to examine data related to performance, behavior, and expectations in order to provide support for the school's vision vision and goals. Why is it necessary to use data when planning to implement a vision and goal? Using real data when planning and implementing the school vision and goals is very critical. Stakeholders will understand their roles and will be accepting of their responsibilities for upholding the vision and statement. There will be a greater sense of buy-in. Ultimately, the most important reason is because it promotes current and future success and well-being for each student and adult. Why would it be valuable for a school leader to poll key stakeholders about the purpose of the education when developing a vision and mission goal? Stakeholders are essential to ensure that the school vision becomes a reality. Their ideas about the purpose of the education can provide clarification regarding strengths, weaknesses, wants, and needs. Why is it necessary to involve others when planning to implement a vision and goal? Because it is to promote the current and future success and well-being of each student and adult. Let's review and prioritize some of the information that has been gathered throughout this case study. We know that there are specific individuals and groups affected by this situation. Those consist of Mr. Rawlings, Mrs. Potter, the school board members, teachers and staff, parents, and students. We know that each one of these groups and individuals uphold the reputation of the school and want what's best for each student. We now have to set the tone of a committee that sees the importance of writing a vision statement as a team in order to install all of the core values of the entire community. At several points in this case, Helen alludes to the community's expectation and of administrators. Are those expectations typical of those found in most school systems? Based on my experience, this is not typical. Most teachers, students, parents, and other stakeholders feel appreciated and valued when given the opportunity to share input. Let's review and prioritize the information that Mrs. Potter needs to do to move forward. She needs to prioritize her information in order to move forward smoothly. She will need to learn more about the community members and their values. She will need to consult with other stakeholders, students, staff members, Board of Education, parents, and community members to gather more information. She will also need to establish a relationship with each one of those groups. She will definitely need to redefine the professional norms and expectations of the advisory committee. What are the advantages and disadvantages of a new principal following the wishes of a committee regarding procedures? There are only two advantages, and one of them would be that she would make the committee members happy and she would have control over the vision. However, the disadvantages do outweigh the advantages. Some disadvantages would be if other stakeholders do not agree with her vision, it could cause a divide in the community. She could develop a vision statement that does not align with the values of the community. People may not take her vision seriously and may not understand their part in making it a reality. She could get all the credit, blame for success or lack of. According to the case, the committee has considered two proposals for developing the vision statement, the one proposed by Helen and one proposed by Susan. Are there other alternatives? Yes, there is definitely room for other options. Mrs. Potter will need to ask herself if she wants to take the my way or the highway approach, or if she wants to build the relationship with the stakeholders. Let's look into some of the options that Mrs. Potter could take. I am proposing 4 different options that Mrs. Potter could take. The first one being take no action. She would comply with the wishes of the committee members by writing the vision statement without consulting any other stakeholders. She could develop a new committee. She would dismiss all members of the committee and start the process to gain new members for the committee. She could draft the vision statement herself. She would conduct a meeting with several stakeholders and determine what was important to the community and develop the vision statement without the help of the other committee members. She could educate the committee members and ask them to reconsider. She would take action by discussing her ethical concerns with Helen and the committee to create professional norms as a committee and begin working collaboratively as they are creating their core set of values for their middle school. As a committee, they need to really focus on what they want to achieve within their school for their students. Let's evaluate each one of those options to see which one outweighs the pros and cons. Option 1, take no action. That would allow her to have respect for the committee and respect their wishes. It could be the quickest and easiest option. However, it would have to allow her to compromise her own values and leadership styles. It may not allow her to create a vision that is truly the complements the values of the community. She could create a division between the new principal and the community. Option 2, developing a new committee. This could enact her personal leadership style. It may be able to effectively develop a stronger vision statement due to the committee members being participants. However, the current committee members may become angry with her. It could cause division amongst staff and parents that feel that they have been treated unfairly. Option 3 would be to draft the vision herself after seeking the input of other stakeholders. She would respect the wishes of the advisory committee without completing any compromising of her leadership styles. She would be able to gather information from other staff members, such as parents and community members. It would be a lot of work for Mrs. Potter. However, it may be difficult for her to know where to start and whom to start with. Option 4, educating the committee members and asking them to reconsider. This could create a strong sense of cohesive amongst all stakeholders. It would allow buy-in for more stakeholders. It would not force a brand new principal to compromise her leadership styles. It could set a tone for mutual respect between Mrs. Potter and the advisory committee and other teachers. After educating the committee, there may still be committee members not wanting to compromise with Mrs. Potter. Throughout this process, I have had to take a look at all of the decision-making process steps. I have identified the problem in Section 3 when I provided my synthesis of the situation. I gathered information during the summary of my case. I was able to determine the background information pertaining the case. Establishing the goal during guided question number 8, I was able to share why it is important to involve others in the development and implementation of a vision and goal. Involving others, even though it is not written within my presentation, I was able to visit with other colleagues about the case and gain their opinion on each of the options. I was able to consider the options and alternatives during Section 6. I was able to share several options and to solve the problem. During Section 7, I created a pro and con table that allowed me to analyze each object. I now must make a decision. While analyzing each option, I was quickly able to eliminate option 1 and 2. At this point in time, I feel I am ready to make a decision. My best option is to educate the committee members and ask them to reconsider. Pros could create a stronger sense of cohesiveness among all stakeholders, could create buy-in for more stakeholders, would not force a brand new principal to compromise her leadership styles, could set a tone of mutual respect between Ms. Potter and the advisory committee. The only con that I could see from this decision would be that after educating the committee, there may still be committee members that do not want to compromise with Mrs. Potter. Mrs. Potter needs to really ask herself if she created the relationship and understanding of the goal and the education of how to write a vision statement with the committee during her first meeting with them. They may be confused on what the committee needs to do, and they may not have the information of how a vision statement should be written. Let's put this plan into action. We will need to provide research, ways to incorporate vision and goals into a new school, and why it is important to include stakeholders in the process. We will need to gather this research and put it into a presentation that is non-threatening. The person that is presenting will need to use a humble approach and the idea should be well perceived. They may need to practice and rehearse their presentation. We will need to educate the community members. The administrator needs to be the one to present the research and share exactly what she is wanting. Determine if the committee members has all the necessary stakeholders involved. Is each department of the school and community represented within this committee? Warn committee members of possible consequences if they are not following the guidelines that Mrs. Potter has set forth for this committee. Think of ways to respond if met with resistance. Mrs. Potter will need to determine if all committee members still want to be part of the committee. She will then need to develop a Plan B. I would propose that option 3 would be her Plan B. Write the vision statement with the help of stakeholders and then share her written statement with the committee. If the committee would like to continue writing the vision statement with Mrs. Potter, it is important that Mrs. Potter continues to meet with the committee members regularly. They will each need to work as a team to develop the professional norms for the meetings. They will need to think of ways to gather feedback, such as surveys and interviews. They will need to draft their initial vision statement, present the initial statement to stakeholders such as the district office and the Board of Education. They will need to make changes and revise as needed. And finally, they will finalize and publish the vision statement and share it with the community. During the first staff meeting of the brand new school, Mrs. Potter will need to share the vision statement and start discussing ways to develop goals for each department in the school to ensure that the vision statement are taking place throughout the school building. This leads us to our last guiding question. How can school community members learn more about the importance of having a school vision and goal? It is the duty of the leadership team to provide their community and school members with the education and understanding of why a school must have a vision statement and goals. They need to know that as powerful as words may be, they will remain only words unless they embody the actions of every stakeholder who belongs to the learning community. Standard correlation. Throughout this case study, I was able to understand and demonstrate the promotion of the current and future success and well-being of each student and adult by applying the knowledge, skills, and commitments necessary to develop an action plan to lead a committee in the research and development of a vision statement for a new middle school. The completion of this assignment allowed me to use decision-making process when dealing with a conflict between members of a committee, including the leadership of the committee. This assignment was relevant to my current learning by allowing me to pull information from all of the assignments I have participated in over the past several weeks. It allowed me to use my leader lens to develop an action plan for a situation that could happen to any leader. This assignment allowed me to see a problem and use my decision-making skills to create a solution and determine the best way to implement the plan of action. As team leader, I will use these skills to develop through this assignment to solve problems and determine the best course of action for each situation we are faced with. This assignment allowed me to connect all the dots from the past 8 weeks. I will take what I have learned from each module and use it when leading my team, meeting with parents, teaching in my classroom, and when presented with problems that may arise throughout any committee or team that I am part of. This assignment has provided me with information on how to handle disagreements that are not necessarily hostile but is not following a plan. As a future building leader, I will use this decision-making process to help me make the best decisions for my teachers, staff members, students, parents, and community members. Not every task presented to me will be easy. However, when making my decisions with the process in mind, I will know that I am making the right decision. This assignment will also help me when I am needing to introduce new policies or procedures to my staff. I will need to make sure I have developed the correct professional development to implement new strategies for my staff. At the end of the day, if teachers do not understand the process or thinking they might not understand the process, they need to follow and how to participate each day. Here are the resources that I used to gather information to answer each of the guided questions throughout this project.